Welcome everyone. Welcome to another exciting program from the Garden Club of Jacksonville. This is our first hybrid program, and the reason I'm wearing a mask is because we have people here at the Garden Club with us today. Everybody say hi. We're so excited to try out this hybrid program. So we have people with us in person and people at home. And we are here to learn about microgreens from Jalynne Goss of Lunar Harvest. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Denise Reagan. I'm the Executive Director of the Garden Club of Jacksonville. And I'm here with Damian Lamar Robinson, our Operations Manager.
Hello, everybody.
And we could not be here without the support of the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund, whose grant is allowing us to do programs just like this, virtually and in person tonight. So we're so happy to have everybody here. Today, I'd like to introduce Jalynne Goss. Jalynne founded Lunar Harvest, not only to grow food, but to teach people the value of what we put into our bodies. Her small urban farm provides organic, nutrient-dense microgreens to Northeast Florida. Tonight, she shares the story of how she entered urban farming and provides tips on how to grow your own microgreens. If you have questions today, please, on Zoom, put them in the chat. And if you're here in the audience, we'll be funneling those to Jalynne as well. So put this in the chat if you're on Zoom, and we will make sure that Jalynne hears them during the program. But first, we have a poll. And we have some people here in person, so they can kind of raise their hands for these different things. So I'm going to start a poll here. All right, let me launch it here. So how much do you know about growing microgreens? Nothing at all, but I like to eat them. I've tried a few times with no success. I've successfully raised some, but I still have questions. I'm a pro, but I can always use a few tips. And if you have another chat, another answer, maybe, you can tell us. And we've got about 85% of the folks on Zoom have voted. And I'm going to end the poll and ask Damian to share the results. And Damian, you don't have to say it pretty loud so everybody back here can hear you.
All right, overwhelmingly, not at all, but a lot of people like to eat them. So 67% of you said that you haven't had them before. I have one time here, and followed by successfully raised some I've successfully raised some, but I still have questions. And then there's a few that have tried them, but have had very little success.
All right, so that's a good problem to have. We have somebody here who can answer them. I'm gonna stop sharing this and close this poll and hand it over to Jalynne Goss and give us a test on your microphone there.
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Awesome.
All of you can hear? Fantastic.
All right, well, thank you guys for having me. Thank you to the Garden Club and thank everyone who's here tonight. My name is Jalynne Goss with Lunar Harvest Farms that I founded back in 2018, actually, when I was living in Orlando. A little bit about me is I actually used to be a graphic designer before I switched into urban farming. So that was a pretty big shift for me. But I just found that I really love gardening. And the best way and I had no land. I didn't really have a backyard. So I started experimenting with microgreens and found that I really did like it, and it was a good way to go. So especially with COVID-19 now going around, people who don't really have access to land, it's very important that they have a way to grow food for themselves if they want to. So that's also a good reason for microgreens. So next slide. What is a microgreen? So microgreens are plants intentionally grown and harvested for the early stages. You would actually harvest it depending on the variety, depends on when you would harvest them. So you can harvest them either from 7 days to actually to a full month, so 30 days, depending on the variety. So you can select something like cilantro, which is notoriously hard to grow. It takes a very long time. That takes actually 30 days, to where a few of the microgreens that I have down here, which are radish and broccoli, are some of my faster growers. They actually take only from 7 to 14 days usually to come to the maturity that I like. And then we have carrot over here. That's to the, what is it, my right. So those actually take, I'd say 14 to 16 days to mature. That's a long grower. Let's see here. Now I feel like, no, not yet. So there is a difference between sprouts and microgreens that I feel that I need to go over. So sprouts are sprouts, microgreens are microgreens. The biggest difference between the two is the time in which you would harvest them. So sprouts, as soon as they clear the seed hole, you harvest them. Some people come up to my booth all the time at the market and they ask, are you selling sprouts? And I have to say, no, these are microgreens. Because again, you harvest them at 7 to 30 days instead of the sprout where you just harvest it as soon as it comes out of the seed hole. So the next thing biggest difference I want to go over is between the mature plant and then the microgreen. The biggest difference between the two is, sure, you can see the size, but the nutrient content. So according to the USDA, microgreens actually have 4 to 5 times more nutrients in them than the mature plant. So that means just a pinch of microgreens, we're gonna use carrot for an example. Just a pinch of carrot carrot microgreens has 4 to 5 more times the nutrients as the grown plant. So you get the nutrient content of 4 to 5 carrots in just a little pinch. That's pretty cool. And then here I have put together a chart of 2 of my microgreens. So here we have carrot on the right, and on the left we have broccoli. So carrot, we have biotin, which is good for hair and nails. We have potassium, vitamin A, which is good for the eyes. We have vitamin B6, vitamin K1, which helps with blood clotting if you get cut. We have folate, which is also known as vitamin B9, which helps with DNA production. Potassium again, manganese, iron, again, vitamin K1. There are also a few other compounds in the 2 I have at the bottom right of them. So if you want, but I'm sure it's available later. And I also have some of these on my Facebook page or Instagram if you want to look at them. Alrighty. Now, growing microgreens. How do you grow your own microgreens? Now, this is actually based a lot on preference. And of course, it'll also be based on where you live and where you're growing them. So Florida, it's a wet heat. So it gets very humid here. So if you're trying to grow microgreens, I'll get into that later, but you're gonna need a dehumidifier first off. But I do have a few other things. So you're gonna need things like the trays you'll need. I have different nutrients here. pH balancing your water, because you need to do that to grow microgreens successfully. You can't just take it straight from the tap into water. If you're going to water them, you're going to need the pH balance, and I will go over that as well. Grow medium, where you can get your seeds, your lighting, racks. So different things that you'll need to grow them. But again, this will be based a lot on your preference. So plus what I found is not everything that works for me will work for you, and vice versa. So now, the first thing that is very important is seeds. Where you get your seeds from is going to determine a lot. So where the 2 places I typically go are Johnny's Select Seeds and True Leaf. I really do like these companies. They are very reputable in the industry, both in microgreen production and the big farmers. go to these two. Now, the first thing you want to consider in the seed is whether you want to be, or if you want to go organic, or if you're okay with just conventional seeds, because that's going to determine a lot if you want to go organically or not. The second thing you want to consider is buying in bulk. Now, I would not, now before you decide, oh, I like alfalfa, I'm going to go ahead and get 25 pounds of it. You better, I would suggest you might maybe try out a packet to see if you actually like the seed, and to see if you actually like how it grows, how it tastes, because otherwise you're stuck with 25 pounds of seed that you don't want. But yeah, so you want to make sure of that. So Johnny's and now all the seed companies, while COVID was going on, they were all pretty hard pressed to get seed out because a lot of people were ordering it once. So home growers unfortunately got the short end of the stick because they were mostly prioritizing commercial growers. Now, however, they have caught up and they are able to keep up with everyone's demand. So it wasn't so much that their seed was running low, it was just all the orders coming in at once that was slowing them down. But now that that's over, everything's good. So the next one up is Botanical Interest. I do like this company. However, the one drawback is it's more for home growers because you can't really buy on bulk from them. I've actually called their customer service and they have said that they don't really sell more than packets. So if you want to buy in bulk, which I suggest, especially if you want to do this in a more commercial sense, I would go with either Johnny's or True Leaf, or perhaps even another company if you want to try something new. Now for storing seeds, you want to store them in a dark and dry place. You don't want them to get damp. Don't want them to get damp and nasty. That can invite mold, in which case your seed is ruined and you've wasted a lot of money, especially depending on the variety you chose to grow. Because I know, I'm going back to cilantro again, that is a very expensive seed. I've seen it run from anywhere from like $200 to $300 for cilantro for some sizes, so you do not want to have your seed go bad. And now the next thing we're going to get into is trays. So the tray that I use as a person who grows commercially, I use the Bootstrap Farmer 10 by 20 tray. Now the 10 by 20 tray is actually the industry standard if you want to grow commercially. It is a bigger tray. It is a bigger tray, so it holds a lot more seeds and a lot more grow medium. Now the reason I go with Bootstrap Farmer is because their trays are very durable. I've used them countless times. They've stood up to me dropping them, stepping on them, whatever, and they are actually very good with washing. So you want to wash your trays, and I will get into that later. But yes, so there's a little water in this one. But this is a bottom tray. So as you see, there are no holes in it. And then this is the one with little slits in it for holes where you can put your grow medium. They also have a mesh tray. And can they see that on the Zoom? Okay, gotcha. And also a 5x5. So the reason I would use this mesh tray, I don't use it for many microgreens, maybe just two, and that's for pea shoots and sunflower, because the roots are actually very vigorous. And so a regular slit, it could work, but it would end up getting very messy very quickly because the roots would push up and it might actually just it makes a huge mess. So having a mesh bottom is best, because actually the thing about pea shoots is they actually don't need need a grow medium. So you can actually just soak them for about 12 hours, put the seeds on these, and then they'll just start growing. Of course, they love water, so you want to make sure to water them regularly. I water mine twice a day at 2 cups. Now the 5x5 is something I would use if I was doing a sampling. Now if you do not want to do that, that's fine, but I just like to have them to do that. Up here on the top left, there are these the green ones, there we go. These are called sprouting trays. So you can actually find these on Amazon. They are actually, I believe, $22 for a pack of 5. And you see they also have the mesh bottom. So I've seen people use these. They're actually very good for microgreens as well. They're just not as big as these 10 by 20s. So just keep that in mind. But they are a good alternative if you don't want to go by the 10 by 20s. And now I have a lasagna tin and a mason jar there. So what I'm just illustrating here is that you can actually use things around your house to grow microgreens as well. There's also, you can use a Chinese takeout container. I obviously clean it first if you wanted to do that. But obviously you would not want to use these in commercial sets. So if you wanted to do it commercially, I'd stick to the 10 by 20s or the sprouting tray. Alrighty, so grow medium. Now grow medium, again, this is going to be based on your preference, how messy you want to get, if you just want to use one thing, if you're okay with using multiple things. So I'm just showing some of the things I've used in the past and I'm using currently. So right here we have the peat moss, which I got from Lowe's. Is a 100% organic product. It comes in like this huge bag. I can't remember how big it was. I think it was like 22 gallons or something like that. And I got it for, I want to say, was it $14 for that whole thing. But the thing is, it doesn't make a good grow medium by itself. So it's best to mix it with something. So I would mix it with this Roots Organics microgreen mix, starter mix. It has a lot of nutrients in it, and I would usually do a ratio of 1 thing of Roots Organics microgreen mix per 2 parts peat moss. And that was because I just wanted to stretch it out. Because that Roots Organic starter mix can run out very quickly. So it's best, so I just wanted to stretch it out with the peat moss, and it works pretty well. Nowadays though, I wanted to get into liquid nutrients. So I experimented with different things. So here I have ocean solution, I have some kelp, and then I have Trinity, which is also a Roots Organics product from Aurora Innovations. Real quick about that, you can actually get a sample pack from them for free if you go to their website, Aurora Innovations. Click the samples and they'll send you some samples. You just have to pay for shipping. But they also have a product called Surge, which I wanted to try, which I actually ordered in that sample pack, but they didn't have it, so they just gave me 2 Trinities. So that's one thing, but if you want to go the liquid nutrient route, make sure that the medium you have has no nutrients in it or very low nutrients, because you don't want to shock your plants. So the medium I'm currently using is called Coco Core, and you see it in the picture right here. This is the Roots Organics brand. There are plenty of other brands of Coco Core. You don't exactly have to go with that one. They work just fine. But Coco Core is basically the ground up husk of coconuts. So they take the flesh out, they do everything else with the more edible parts of the coconut, and then they grind it up and use the husk to make a grow medium. Now it is naturally at 6.5 pH, which means it's very neutral. Has no nutrients in it. And you want to do that because when you're adding nutrients, you don't want to shock your plants. So, and also with your nutrients, you want to dilute them. They'll usually come with the instructions on them, how much to dilute them for hydroponic use. And when you dilute them, you want to make sure your water is also pH balanced. Now here in Jacksonville, I found that the water is very, very basic, meaning that it has a very high alkaline content. So it's around 8 pH, 8 or higher pH. So that's pretty good for humans, but not so good for the plants. So what you're going to, so this is where this kit comes in handy. It is from General Hydroponics, and it has like acid, has an acid, and then it has base as well. So what you're going to, so what you would do most is use the acid to bring down that. You also test here. Now this is going to, now in the past I did not do this, and I was getting okay growth, but once I started pH balancing my water, the growth started to really pick up. So I got a lot of better yields after pH balancing the water. And you want to make sure that it's around 5.5 to 6.5 pH. So if you put too much acid in it, it's fine. You can just use the base to bring that pH balance right back up. And you can also, if you don't want to use this method, you can actually get a water tester pen or meter, and you can actually buy that off of Amazon, and it'll actually, once you calibrate it, you'll be able to test your water as well. Let's see, just making sure. Yep. And now getting to lights. So a lot of people go a little overboard when it comes to lighting. You do not need the most expensive lights to grow microgreens. When I was starting out, when I tried it for the first time, I actually used fluorescents. I went to Lowe's and bought like a 24 pack of fluorescent lights. Use that on the rack, and that worked. Obviously, now that I've gotten a lot better at it and I want to be more professional, I use LEDs now. So the LEDs that I use are the Barina T5 LEDs. You can actually get them in a pack of 12 for $80. I'm about to go over the others as well. So if you look over here, below those are the Barina T8 LEDs. Those come in a pack of 6 for around the same price, $80. The only difference though that I found is that it's just a lot more, it's brighter, but that's only because the film on the T5s has a frosted coating on it, because it's originally supposed to be a strop light, so it's used to disperse the light around the room. But if you were to remove that, it'd just work just as well as the T8s. So the more purple lights over here are the Barina T8 full spectrums. So these are lights that have the full spectrum of light. If you wanted to do that, they actually come in a pack of 6 for $100. But again, it's 6 for $100 as opposed to 12 for $80. And I just really don't see the difference and I just don't really see the justification for doing that. So I just prefer to stay with the T5s. And then down here we have the active grow lights. It's actually for a pack of 2 for $123. So you're only getting 2 lights for $123. You can actually find all of these on Amazon. But again, so you do not have to go overboard when it comes to lights. You can end up spending a lot of money. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there is no difference that comes with lighting. There is. It can change the taste, it can change the color, it can change the texture of your microgreen, but you don't need to get the most expensive light to have the best product. So don't blow all your money on lights. And then one more thing I wanted to go over in regards to nutrients, my apologies. There are actually a couple of hydroponic stores around Jacksonville you can go to. You don't just have to stay here and go to Amazon. There are a couple, so there's Urban Gardens of Jax Hydroponics, there's Hydroponics Unique Goods, Grower's Choice in Hydroponics, and these are shops that are actually around Jacksonville. I believe one of them's on the west side and the other's on the south side. So if you don't want to have to order everything online, you can definitely check here locally and support local business. Now we're going to get to the do's and don'ts. So, okay, so first, blackout period. So first off, you need to have your plants in blackout. It is very important, as this will affect your germination and the length of your product. So as you see, I have a paver there. I use a 15-pound paver to weigh down my microgreens. So I would put something like this. And the reason you want to do that is because that weight actually puts stress on the seed, and it helps to grow. It also helps the seed to shed the husk. If you're very particular about that, you want to make sure that the weight is on there to help it come off. It also helps to make sure that the plant germinates evenly, so you're not getting uneven growth. I know that when I first started, I did not do the blackout period. I just put the grow medium in the tray, put the seed on top, and just stick it right, wet it a little bit, and then stick it right on the rack. What I found happened was it would have uneven growth. Some places it would grow, some places there would be big holes, some places would be higher, some places would be lower. So the result just wasn't as good. So when I started using weight, that actually helped tremendously. I started getting more even yields, heavier yields, and it started to really look a lot better. Now, you want to do this for 2 to 3 days, depending on the variety. Now, after that, you want to do like 2 to 3 days without light. So take the weight off, and you would flip your bottom tray like this and place it on top. So what's that? So that is called the stretching phase. So the reason you want to do that is because for especially with shorter growing varieties like arugula and what's another short one? Basil. You want to do that because they grow short. If you expose them to light too early, they will actually stay short. And so when it comes to harvesting them, you run the greater risk of cutting yourself and get it, or just having to cut so low that you get dirt all over your product when you're trying to package it, if you're going commercial or just want to eat it. So that's why you want to make sure they're stretched so that it's a lot easier to harvest and there's not as much dirt on there. You should always be cleaning your microgreens first, but you definitely want to do that stretching. And you also want to watch for air humidity in the air. Now, again, I mentioned this, we live in Jacksonville. It gets very hot, very humid here. So you definitely want to watch for that humidity, because if not, you can be inviting mold and bacteria into your area. So the reason for that being is because mold loves dark and humid spots. So if you don't watch for that, you will definitely be inviting that into your space. So I definitely would stress that you invest in a dehumidifier. So you would want to keep that at a 45 to 55 humidity. Microgreens usually like it from 45 to 65 humidity. However, I like to keep it in 45 to 55 range. Now, the airflow is also something you should definitely watch out for. Simply due to the fact that, again, you don't want mold and bacteria to form, especially when you're watering. So I actually have these 2 fans. You can buy them on Amazon. They are gaming fans. That I've converted to actually place on my racks and have airflow. I place them 1 per rack and it works just fine. I put them on high. You can chain them together. So it's actually a lot easier to do. And that's one way to keep the air flowing. And again, just keep a clean area. You don't want a dirty area when you're doing these things. Now, the don'ts. So you do not want to make everything a microgreen. So what I mean by that is, so potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, So a little known fact about these plants is that they are actually parts of the nightshade family. So the only parts of those plants that are edible are the tuber and the fruits. So every other part of that plant is toxic. So if you eat anything else on that plant, you're pretty much in a way poisoning yourself. So you don't, so not everything, so not everything is a microgreen. Do not grow every plant as a microgreen. Also top watering microgreens. Now, I personally don't like to do that, but there are some people who do. So there is a tray on Bootstrap Farmer that if you want to do that, it has a higher rim on it. So you can definitely do that. You can only grow with one tray. The only issue is that, so when you have a hardier stem plant, like pea shoots or sunflower that's viable, it just gets very moist in there when you do that, because you have to top water to keep them moisturized. Again, it traps a lot of water in there, and so it makes it very easy for
Jalynne,
molds.
can you explain what top water means?
Top water. So that means, so say you have a hose, so you like the mist setting on your hose. That's what you would do to top water those. Yes. So that's what you would do, but that traps moisture in the canopy, and that can attract mold and all kinds of bacteria to grow in there. It also just makes the soil very wet. So so it's time to clean, it can get very clumpy. So you don't want that to happen. So I personally don't like to do it. There are definitely YouTubers though that I see doing it. One is On the Grow, some are urban farmer Curtis Stone. Some in my gardener has some good microgreen tips as well. So they show different ways that you can do it. But again, it's all microgreen production. It's all based on what you like. So I personally do not like to do that. I like to use the 2-tray system because I find it's a lot cleaner to do and a lot easier to control. Yes, sir. So you would actually put your grow medium in the top tray with holes, and then the bottom tray would be strictly for bottom watering. Now, a common mistake that new growers make is mistaking the root hairs for mold. So this picture right here, with the fuzzy little hairs coming out of the sprout, those are root hairs. Those are supposed to be there. Those are what will dive down into your grow medium and start to produce roots. So one of the worst things you can do is mistake those for mold and then throw away a perfectly good crop. So you've just wasted your seed and time doing that. So make sure that you do not confuse root hairs with mold. How do you know the difference? Because they look fuzzy, and the difference between mold is also that it looks like a spider's web. So it looks like a spider's web is forming all over your tray. It'll start crawling up if it goes unchecked too long, it will also start crawling up the stems of your plants. So after that happens, in some cases it can be controlled, but when it gets too far going, when the tray gets too far going, you just have to throw it out. There's just no saving it after that. And then obviously I've gone over exposing to light too early. You don't want to do that because usually with some varieties, once you expose it to light, they won't grow anymore. So you want to go through that stretching phase. And also reuse trays without sanitizing and cleaning them. So that is a big one, especially if you've had a tray that has had mold growing all over it. You don't want to do that because there could still be spores present on that tray. And if you just start a new one without cleaning it off, it can propagate and destroy your next batch of seed. So you definitely want to sanitize that tray. Next slide. So getting into sanitation and fungicides. So I just went over, you need to sanitize your trays. And so these are some products you can use to sanitize your trays and also fight mold if they appear on your microgreens. Now, the first one we all don't need to be told about, bleach. That is a well-known one. However, you want to be very careful with how much bleach you use. You often want to dilute that in water when it comes to cleaning your trays. I have a system that I use, but I have 3 tubs. I fill 1 tub with water and detergent. I fill 1 tub with just water, and then another tub with just water and whatever solution I'm using to clean my trays, to sanitize my trays. Now, you do not want to overdo it with bleach because you could possibly end up nuking your trays. And that means that whatever you grow in there is just toxic from then on out. You can't grow anything in that tray. The second one is what I actually use. I have it right here. It is called Benefect. It is a Canadian product. It is plant-based, so it's organic. And it's actually used by commercial cleaners to clean up crime scenes and all kinds of stuff. It's a very good product. And again, it is plant-based, so it's not as harmful as bleach, especially if you have kids. You just want to be safe. So this is another product you can use. They're actually EPA certified, so very good product. Next week, as for fungicides, ways to fight mold on your trays, I actually use a combination of hydrogen peroxide, which I have right here. I get mine from Essential Oxygen. They're finally selling it again because with COVID, they were sold out. I tried to get some back in April, and I wasn't able to purchase any until July. So it was a good month gap before they had anything available. So the thing about if you want to go the hydrogen peroxide route is you want to make sure it is a food grade hydrogen peroxide. You cannot go to Walmart or Walgreens or CVS and just get the stuff in the brown bottle. That actually contains unsafe chemical elements that should not be consumed by humans. So if you're going to go the hydrogen peroxide route, you need to get a food grade hydrogen peroxide. Next is neem oil. It comes from the neem tree. It is actually a very good antiviral, fungicide, natural. And this is actually something you can use. Now, with the neem oil, I would only suggest using this once a week. It's on the instructions, and also it's very strong. So the reason I use these 2 together is because the hydrogen peroxide, you can actually use every day. So if you see that mold is starting to pop up, I'll just use my hydrogen peroxide water mix and spray that spot. Now you don't want to overdo it when you're trying to sanitize because again, it is a water solution. So you don't want to keep adding water to mold because even if it is a hydrogen peroxide or neem oil, you can end up just making it worse by overdoing it. So you want to be careful of that. And then, a few other methods you can use, but these are only for home growers. That would be vinegar. Vinegar can also be used to sanitize your trays, but it is not an EPA certified way to do it, so I wouldn't suggest doing it if you were a commercial gardener. You can also use the UV rays from the sun. They're actually good for the UV radiation, can also kill germs and whatnot. But again, this is not an EPA certified way to clean your trays. So if you are a commercial grower or you want someone who wants to do this commercially, I would not suggest doing that either. Alrighty. And then now I'm going to get into a demonstration. So, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm just
There you
gonna
go.
hold it up. Can they see this? Okay. So again, for the people on the Zoom, I was talking earlier about trays. So this is the tray that has the holes in it. If you can see those holes, this would be where you put your grow medium. Oops. And then this is the tray that has no holes. Again, I get these from Bootstrap Farmer. They are an American-based company. They are based in Texas. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your bottom tray on the bottom, top tray on the top, and then I actually have my cocoa core, the grow medium I use right here. This is cocoa core, and I'm actually just going to pour this in my tray. And you're just going to smooth that out, and you see the clumps. You're going to make sure you get rid of all of those clumps in the grow medium as you go through. And just get it as even as possible. And you can also use your top tray, your second top tray that will hold you, that you're going to use to weigh it down. Oh, can they see it now? Okay. So you're going to smooth that out as best you can. And then you're going to use this top tray to kind of push it down to help that get even. And now you have a pretty much even surface. Again, you could also do this with the mesh tray if you wanted to try it with that. And then now you're going to use your kitchen scale. You can just use a regular kitchen scale. There it is. And the unit of measure I use and now I'm going to add my seeds. The unit of measure I like to use for this is actually grams. So the seed I have right now is alfalfa. And going to pour this in here. I actually do 10 grams of that. Alrighty. So then you're going to spread it out as evenly as possible. Obviously, we're human. We can't do it perfectly. But you want to try to get that even. And if you have any clumps of seeds that end up in there, you want to break those up. Otherwise, what will happen is when your seeds start to sprout, the root hairs will get tangled with each other. And instead of growing, they will just become a big tangled mess. So you want to make sure that there are no clumps when you're seeding. And this root, I'm just going to put the rest back in there. And then after that, you would actually water a little bit. So I forgot my sprayer at the warehouse, but so I would spray a little bit. Use this tray right here to put this on top, add my paver, and then that's how I would start a tray for most microgreens. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. As I stated earlier with pea shoots, they do not actually need a grow medium. So what you would do is you would just soak them for 12 hours. You do not have to pH balance that water though. When you're just soaking the seeds, you don't have to pH balance the water. That's only when you're bottom watering. So you would just soak those seeds for 12 hours, put them in the tray, and they would start to sprout. Another one that you would do differently is beets. The reason being is because their seed hole is very hard. And if you bite into one of those, you're losing a tooth. So the reason you would put grow medium on top of that one and push it down, you would put a layer of grow medium down, you would put the seed in the middle, and then you would put another layer of grow medium on top of that. Preferably something that has a little bit more body, like a cocoa coir or peat moss. And this is because when you do this, you would also put this down, but you would not put weight on top of that because because it already has some grow medium on top, and you don't want to have too much stress. So what would happen is as it pushes through that layer of cocoa coir or peat moss, it would actually, most of them would actually lose the seed hole in the process. So this helps a lot with getting them off. Some of them will still have the seed hole on them, so you'll just have to wade through and make sure to take those off yourself, or just not sell those particular strands. But that's how you would make sure you would look out for that. And is there another slide after that? All right.
All right. So, wow. You know, if there's one thing I've learned today, it is that I know nothing about growing microgreens, and they're much more fun to eat for me than to grow. So I will be buying them from you today.
All right.
But we have a lot of questions on here. Damien, do you want to round up some of these?
Sure thing. Hopefully, can you guys hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Those of you who are seeing, yes, awesome. All right, so we have a couple questions, and for those of you who are attending in our audience, I'll try to vocalize a little bit better so you can hear me. But Jalynne, one of the questions was asked is that should you grow different types of seeds together in a mix all one tray, or should you keep the tray separate?
Oh no, you can definitely mix. I'm sorry. Do you want to repeat that question? Did everyone?
Yes, please.
So, what I got was that should you mix seeds? Is that in one tray?
Yeah, can you grow them in one tray?
Can you grow them in one tray? Yes. So yes, you actually can. I actually have an example of that up here. I have a mixture of kohlrabi, broccoli, and radish. The only thing I would say to that is make sure that these seeds grow at pretty much the same rate. So make sure they have the same rate of maturity. So make sure you have fast growers that grow from 7 to 14 days. If it's a long growing variety, make sure that you keep with your long growing varieties together. Don't try to mix a short growing variety with a long growing variety.
Thank you. Do you know which microgreens grow better?
Yeah, I think it's not that one. Yes, this one right here. So yeah, so you have kohlrabi here, broccoli here, and then you have radish here. Oh, picked. Hold it, my bad. All right.
Yeah, which microgreens grow better?
That is based on, I can't really say that because I've had people say, oh, broccoli is so easy to grow. And then I went to try to grow it and just like, what's going on here? I can't, it's molding all over the place. I can't get it to grow right. Whereas something like beets, which I also have back here, people claim was a hard microgreen to grow, and it just worked fine for me. So it's just some microgreens will like you, some will make you work to get them to grow. That's all I can say.
Awesome. One last question. Do you grow them in your house, or do you have a greenhouse?
I have a warehouse that I grow my microgreens in. I just try to keep it separate from my home space. So a member of the audience here asked, how much space do you need to grow microgreens? And not much at all. So it just depends on how much space you're willing to allot to it. So you can grow them in your living room. You could grow them in your bedroom. Just put out a little nook for them and give them everything that they need, and they'll grow for you.
Okay, one last question, Jalynne. Are the starters that you use, are they sold locally or at a farm or online?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, the starters that you use, are they sold locally or at a farm or online?
There are sellers who sell here locally in Jacksonville who sell them. I get mine from Jax Hydroponics on the west side. He has different varieties of products that he buys in bulk from retailers and then sells them here. So Yeah, you can get them online or locally from your local hydroponics shop.
All right. And do you have any fun recipes you want to share with everybody?
Put them on. I usually put them in my smoothies. I find that to be the easiest way for me to enjoy them. And then I also put them on a salad, or if I'm like recently, I put them in my quesadilla. So that was pretty good.
Quesadilla. That's great. I love that. I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, I don't know if this question was already asked about how far away do you place the lights? Did you ask that one already, Damien? How far away do you place the lights from your microgreen trays?
I typically have mine spaced, I would say about, what about 4-6 inches from the microgreens? Yeah, more or less 4-6 inches. You don't want them too close, but you don't want them too far away. So it's hard to say because I usually have them on a rack and I use the knots to kind of measure that. So unfortunately, I haven't really measured them myself, the distance.
We have some requests to do a tour of your microgreenhouse. So you may be getting some visitors soon.
Say it again. Nice, but unfortunately, we're actually in transition phase. We're actually trying to move on to a farm now. So we're kind of moving out of the warehouse onto a farm, and we've sent out a few proposals and seeing about leasing some land. So we're trying to do that now. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Got one more question from our online audience. How do you know when it's harvest time for those microgreens?
So you will look I don't want to touch them, but when you see your microgreens start to grow their true leaves, like I see a few of them here, that's the time to harvest. So the cottonweeds are kind of like baby teeth for humans, and so when the true leaf is also like the adult teeth. So when you see those starting to come in, you know it's time to harvest, because if you let them grow too much, it'll change the taste of your microgreen.
We have a lot of people who would like to know where can they buy your microgreens?
I'm at the Jacksonville Farmers Market. We're not going to be there this weekend, but we're actually going to be there next weekend on Sunday. So you can check us out then.
Fantastic. Any last questions? Yes.
Oh God. Oh God. Right now, I would say I'm running like a. Say it again. Oh, my apologies. So a member of the audience asked, how many trays do I have? So this is something I keep running into, where I think I have enough trays and I find out I don't, and I have to buy more. So right now I say I have around 200 of them. And so washing them is not fun, so I have to do a regular cycle to keep them from piling up on me.
200 trays. Wow. Mm-hmm. That's all I have to say to that. Wow. All right. Do we have any last questions from the audience? Any last questions on Zoom? Damien, did you see any?
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much for answering all of our questions, Jalynne.
No problem.
Okay, we do have one last one here. How many trays are recommended for beginners?
For beginners, are you trying to do it commercially, or are you trying to do it home grower? Okay. So actually, so I would suggest maybe one or two bottom trays, 2 top trays to get yourself started. And one thing, and I'm gonna plug Bootstrap Farmer one more time, is because they actually have a hobby bundle on their website where they sell two of each tray. I think it's like $50, and it comes with 2 domes as well. So you can get two of each with 2 domes for $50 on Bootstrap Farmer. And again, these are very durable trays. If you want that, they can help with germination. Some people use them. I don't anymore. I usually just use them when I'm transporting my trays to keep them sanitary. But that it helps with germination. The humidity helps the seeds germinate. That's about it.
So that was a question about the domes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic. We cannot thank you enough. Let's give her a big hand, everybody.
Thank you.
And I'm going to share my screen so we can share a little bit more information about what is going on at the Garden Club. There we go. Jalynne, thank you so much for being a fabulous speaker. And I think we all learned a lot and maybe got a little bit scared about trying to grow our own, but you did make it, you know, like as long as we're following some of the tried and true rules you presented, I think it's possible. However, I'm going to be buying yours so that I can eat them now. We wanted to just talk about a couple of things that are coming up here at the Garden Club. One is we are selling masks. So the mask I'm wearing, the mask you see on the screen, that is being modeled by my daughter, by the way, are available at the Garden Club. They're $15 for one or two for $25. And you can buy them online. And Damien is going to add that link to the chat. And those of you who are here, we are selling masks and you can buy them right here, right now, or you can go on our website. We are having a big picnic, October 16th, 3 to 8 p.m. It'll be a pretty much outdoor affair, and there's going to be a lot of fun things going on. We'll have some live entertainment. There'll be charcuterie boxes that you can order and enjoy. We'll have tables out there that you can go and socially distance, but still enjoy the river view and a little outdoor time. So join us for that. And there's information about that on our website that Damien will add to the chat. We're also doing a boutique sale. We have a big inventory of all sorts of garden tools and implements and accessories and jewelry and all sorts of things that you wouldn't think that we would have, but we do have it. And we need to just, you know, thin out our inventory a little bit. So we are going to have a sale October 15th, 16th, and 17th. And information about that is available on our website as well. If you're not a member of the Garden Club of Jacksonville, now's a good time to join. We always would love to have your membership. And when you join the Garden Club, you're supporting the work that we do, programs like this that we offer for free to everybody in the community. And you also help us, you know, maintain the history of this place and this beautiful facility that sometimes costs us a little money to keep up. So please be a part of the Garden Club and find out about how to join. We always like to do surveys of these programs. We'd like to know what you think and help us understand what kinds of topics you'd like to hear about in the future. So please take that survey. The link is going to be on the chat in Zoom, and we'll be sending it out to everybody afterward so that you can take our survey and let us know how we did. We'd like to thank the Jessie Ball DuPont Fund one more time for making these kinds of programs possible. And I'd like to thank all of you for attending, both in person and online. And because if you weren't here, we'd just be talking to ourselves, and that's no fun. So it's much better with an audience. And I'd like to thank my partner, Damien Lamar Robinson, back there in the corner. And thank all of you once again. And we see you next time. Come see us at the picnic, 9 o'clock picnic on October 16th. All right, everybody, have a good evening. Talk to you later.